Well, good evening, race fans, and welcome back for the final time this season to a week of racing here on the Invictus Racing League channel. This is the round 15. We're going to the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in, of course, Montreal, Canada. My name is Webbo, here to take you through this, the 15th race of the season. And joining me in the comms box, as has been the entire season long, is JP. Good evening, JP.
Good evening, Mo, and good evening, everyone. How are you?
Yeah, doing good, and looking forward to seeing whether Ghost can extend this new record-breaking season of his and add to his 10 wins and 3 further podiums. It has been a crazy, crazy season of tremendous performance from Ghost. One for the record books, no doubt, but certainly it doesn't look like it's going to be all plain sailing for him. But we've got a few more tasty situations in the championship to bring our viewers tonight, haven't we, JP?
Yeah, we have obviously the constructors' fight between Alpine and Haas, and quite a big development of that post-race. Last race, obviously, we left off with Haas on 24 points behind. Burmeister actually got a post-race penalty last week, which dropped him 2 places, which means that they are actually now 26 behind Alpine going in, meaning pretty much a 1-2 is the only way they're going to get this title, and with Ghost and Reshka not scoring.
Right. Okay. So a maximum result really for Haas to secure the top spot. But we've got some fairly close battles throughout the rest of the grid to decide the final placings as well. We'll try and keep an eye on those for you through the course of the evening. The constructors pretty much sewn up, you have to say, but plenty worth fighting for in the drivers' championship positions. Good evening to certainly to Ghost and ARL, who join us in the live chat straight away, but also to Ben Roberts, I believe, and to Kelvin North, who's here for Speed Queen. Ben Roberts, I think, just here for research. JP for the rest of the week's racing.
Yeah, absolutely. You wouldn't suppose there's a few others from the other divisions. Just having a look, obviously, is a good indicator, the F1 guys, of what the tyre's going to do in the strategy. However, from the weather forecasts we've received, though, it's looking like that plan is going to go out the window come the race.
Yes, looks like we are on for some wet weather. Now I've been given from Ivan, he said a 79% chance of rain, but wet race, and then Ghost saying definitely a wet race, and same as last week. But ARL is heading into the Le Pingle, the final hairpin in turn 10, before heading down the Casino Straight for the last time, JP. And I know you want to make sure that we get our viewers on board with ARL for the first track lap here, hot lap in qualifying.
Yeah, absolutely. I haven't quite got the corner names written down, so we'll go corner numbers for this. She came past all the champions for this 4.3 kilometre circuit up towards turn third. Cut as much coverage as you're waiting and waiting to get the throttle on as you then approach the crest. 3 and 4. Make sure you don't cut the corner too much, you will invalidate your lap. Then 5, just a flat right hander where Stroll and Hartley came together. 6 and 7, you want to get a nice line through 6 to open up 7 and get the line out. And this brings you on to the first of 3 DRS zones. Into 8 and 9, again, you want to take some curve to open up 9, but you got to be careful, the car will be loose. Down to turn 10, hairpin. And, couple of lines you can do. That's not, well, this is kind of one of them from ARR, so he's a little bit wide there. 11 and 12 just flicks. There's 12 there. Up towards the final chicane once again. Again, this is going to be crucial tonight, though, because obviously strict limits. This is not an easy chicane to get right. Past all the champions. Hopefully Ghost doesn't crash into that tonight, being the newly crowned champion. Normally he keeps the right hand side for the shortest run to the line, but a 1:11.3 is not a bad banking opening lap.
Oh, no, indeed. Thank you to that, and welcome to Daniel and to Will, the ex Will 1234432 who I know from elsewhere. Welcome to Will, and if the rest of his Barmy Army is going to join, we're in for a good night on the chat. Luke Bailey getting down into that turn 10 hairpin. I actually have turn 12 listed as the first of the chicane at the pit lane entry, which is a point of contention. It's definitely something to watch out for, JP, tonight. Drivers entering the pits versus those braking earlier for this chicane.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to be on the ball. For anyone wondering why there's probably a difference in our numbering systems, I've taken mine from the F1 website. There are other track map websites available, which obviously Webbo, you've probably used their Webbo, but Luke Bailey, 111.9. 111.192 from Luke Bailey, provisional pole position, and then Felix comes in with a 10.4.
Yeah, 10.4 from Felix, and welcome if there's any of his NSX team with him here tonight. Ivan Beloff is around the sector 1 at the moment, 19.769 for him. There's a Haas coming down the back straight. I think it's Stefan. Burmeister gets a 10.4, and he's on it very quickly tonight, which is excellent. Waiting then for Stefan, his response here. One of the first of the usual front runners here to go across the line. Here comes Stefan in the Haas to cross the line, and that's a P3, 110.6, but very, very close at the top, JP.
Yeah, absolutely. Ghost is just coming up to the final chicane. What can he do in the Alpine? We're still yet to see what Stinos can do as well. Onto the...
That car of Ghosts looks absolutely nailed on through the chicane. Yeah. He looked the most confident and comfortable going through towards the Wall of Champions there. P4 though. And quickly,
P5.
Yeah, now P5 for Ivan Beloff gets a 10.708, Ghost a 10.753. We've got Smoke having a little look at how the mediums perform, but no major development on this particular lap because he's invalidated this one. And I know we've got Speed Queen, we've got fans of Speed Queen joining us, and she's just warming the car up, ready to get underway. What chance do we think of a Speed Queen podium today with a offset strategy? How open are we, JP, to a bit of a wild card strategy tonight?
There's every chance. A lot of traction zones around Canada, which means grip is quite essential, especially through these chicanes. But it all depends, as we've seen in the past, what sort of setup you run when we've seen Ghost on old tyres, but ridiculously rocket-powered engine, straight line speed, which is enough. I mean, anything can happen here, I think.
Absolutely. Well, let's enjoy Speed Queen's lap and see, because she's the only one really on a hot one at the moment. We've got Smoke. I don't know if he's actually running a lap, but he's on the medium tyres. Will suffer a bit of a tyre offset at this stage. Speed Queen looking pretty good through Sector 1, JP.
Yeah, pretty clean so far. Nice and smooth as we come to expect from Speed Queen, not touching any of the curbs, which says to me that the car possibly set up with a little bit less downforce, because the curbs will unsettle the car a little bit. Into the third of the chicanes. Again, minimal curb, just using the circuit, using the grip on the line. Very, very nice here from Speed Queen into the hairpin at the bottom of the circuit. And,
that is a super late apex on that hairpin there.
Yeah, that's one of the lines you can take, is you go slightly deeper, and I think she's abandoned this lap because she's now weaving down the straight a little bit.
Yeah, it wouldn't be unusual to see her go for a bit of a charge lap here. I think she'll make sure she logs this lap, but no ERS used to speak of until this point on the way out of the final corner. So she goes across the line. She goes P10, the slowest lap so far, but without using any ERS. That's hardly a surprise. MDJ has invalidated, unfortunately. Luke Bailey might be starting a new one, and he is. He's currently P8 on a 111.192. I think we'll see the vast majority of drivers get themselves into the 110s though before the session is done. But remember, we are looking at a possible wet race, so it really is anyone's, and there'll be a high chance of safety car tonight, JP, with these walls.
Yeah, absolutely. It only takes one person to nail the wall of champions, or just have a twitch at one of these chicanes, It won't take a lot to bring out that safety car. Luke Bailey, not too bad so far through this first half of the lap. Yellow in sector 3, I think that's just the Williams of MVJ slowing down, making some time for himself. Luke Bailey, 2/10 quicker so far, so he's looking into the 10s as he goes round the hairpin.
And Speed Queen over 2 seconds faster than she was on the first lap. Runs very wide outside on the Wall of Champions. Gets a little bit of grass on the exit. Goes up to P4, a 110.704, and the gap to Ivan Belov is tantalisingly close as we wait for Luke Bailey's lap to come in. He's just about to cross the line now, passing the pit lane and over the line now for P7. An improvement there. It's very, very close between P4 and P8, I suppose. The drivers all out now for their second laps if they haven't yet logged it already. MDJ 19.7 seems around about the ballpark for the first sector. For drivers, he gets very, very deep into the hairpin. That will ruin this lap for him, JP.
Yeah, sorry, bit of a break on. Ghost has just started his latest attempt. He is behind some. One thing I have noticed tonight here, whether there's no Alfa Romeos again, which is a big shame for Delange and Livingwell. That's going to hamper. Just having a quick look at the constructors table. They're not in threat of anyone behind them like the Red Bulls or that, so they'll keep third. But we feel they could have taken the fight had Delange been able to get into the lobby last week. That's a Ferrari. That's off.
Stenos with an early, a sort of mid-lap invalidation there on his first attempt. So pressure piling up for Stenos, usually one of the pole challengers. It still lies with Burmeister, 110.418. Well, I say that. Felix has gone a 110.1, and we are knocking on the door of the 109s as the second laps come in. ARL is a tenth and a half faster than he's been before through sectors 1 and 2. Just the final chicane to do, but he elects not to and goes straight for the pit lane. Wasn't happy with that one. Possible Constructors Champion-elect member Reshka coming in now to the hairpin, and I've pre-approved a chat with Reshka if possible. If he happens to win the Constructors Championship here with Ghost tonight, we will speak to Reshka in honour of that, because we haven't been able to speak to him yet so far this season. Across the final chicane, electing not to stay right here, so this is a warm-up, it seems. Still a 1:11.0, the fastest time for him, and Ghost is on P2 at the moment, JP, a 10.228.
Yeah, that was done in his most recent attempt. Burmeister looking like he's on a recharge after invalidating the lap, and this is crucial, these invalidating laps, because the drivers are sorry, Stefan on board. He's coming to the pits anyway. This is crucial for the drivers, because even though it's annoying when you do invalidate your lap, you do find that limit with the track, and that's very important come the race.
Yeah.
As we've seen before, sometimes it doesn't really matter too much where you qualify, because the points come on Sunday, as the saying goes. So, but finding where you can make use of the limits of the track or not is quite crucial around here, because it will be easy to pick up time penalties, even for the likes of Ghost, Stinos and co up near the front.
Those fairly gentle curbs, I know they can be quite high, but these fairly gentle curbs do invite the drivers to really push and throw the car at the apexes. It means that they can pick up those penalties. Near 7/10 improvement per smoke, but unfortunately stays outside of the top 10. This is the only qualifying session. Say again.
Reshka up to 9th on that latest attempt for him, so both Alpines in the points.
And Stinos has only logged a P7 as well so far, 10.719. I don't know if he is he working the wheel here. He's got no ERS left on this lap, so I would estimate he's not going to go a lot faster. Let's see as he goes either to the pit lane or to cross the line. Being beaten so far by his teammate Speed Queen. Yeah, into the pits for Stinos. It's all on that final lap for him. We've got smoke on the track, but having set his lap, pretty much it's just Speed Queen who is on an outlap at the moment and offset to everyone else's strategy. Not for the first time this season.
No, it's interesting for Stinos because I'm pretty certain that's his first set of softs that he's used as well, and his only tyres he's used so far. So it's interesting that he's maybe looking to keep a set of brand new softs for the race. I wonder if he's thinking that possibly it's going to be a dry start, but he can take the softs to a rain period or so. So looking to maybe maximise the grip at the start of the race. But Speed Queen just going through Sector 1 now. And we'll see where her time is coming Sector 1. It's 6/10 down. Yeah, she's not using ERS again, so this is this is another warm-up lap for the tyres. I mean, it's not an easy track to get temp into the tyres because you long straights, even though there are hard braking zones, there's enough long straights to keep the tyres nice and cool, which you don't really want when you're trying to go fast.
Now, of course, the flip side of the fact that she has supernatural tyre-saving abilities, Speed Queen, is that probably means that she doesn't bring the tyres up to temperature quite as much as other drivers with her natural driving style. So she tends to do this double run. It is quite a short track as well, JP. It's narrow in many places, although there are some good overtaking opportunities. Where are we going to be looking for the majority of the moves?
You're going to be looking turn 1 and 2, obviously after the DRS zone on the main straight. 3, if you've got a run out of 2, 3 and 4 is a possible option. 5 and 6, that chicane, that is definitely an option for overtaking if you get again a good run out of 4. 7, 8, 9, you're not going to see much through there because it's quite nadgery. But again, you might do because of the DRS zone. That DRS zone can come into play as long as you're alongside before it. The hairpin, always a chance there. And then obviously the back straight with the DRS zone heading up towards the chicane. I wouldn't expect many people to be going side by side with that chicane, but you never know.
No, it is the last race of the season. It could be a bit of an end of termism going on. Outlaps are plenty as Burmeister starts his next lap. Speed Queen on the attack as well. Felix still holds provisional pole of 110.105. Good evening to Simon Palmer, who joins us for research tonight, as predicted, for many of our other leagues that will be taking place at this time every night this week. And Speed Queen across the final chicane goes towards the line. What can this lap reveal for her? It's a 110.427. Let's join Burmeister, shall we? And see how he's going. He's certainly still within a tenth of a second of his fastest time through Sector 1, and he's about to cross the line for Sector 2, and he's a lot slower, so I imagine he's now just saving the car for another run. We've got Ghost about to start his next lap, and it's great to see Felix on top of the moment, JP. He struggled in his introduction in the first couple of races here with us at Invictus Racing League's F1 division, but certainly seems to be bringing something special tonight to Canada.
Yeah, he did struggle a little bit for pace. I mean, Miami, I think he just made a few mistakes, and it just cost him possibly. I mean, I say Miami cost him a little bit. He did actually have a good race in Miami. Ended up 6th in the end after Burmeister's penalty in the end. So he had a good race in Miami, just to qualifying. Is where Felix probably lacked, because even in Abu Dhabi he didn't qualify very well, but the race pace he had, other than the mistakes, was very, very good. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do. I mean, he's 2.5 tenths down and invalidated lap, so
Ghost going well here. He's on target to break into the 109s with his celebratory Champions Canadian Grand Prix special helmet on. It seems to be playing card themed here as he goes towards just this one more braking zone and tricky acceleration point on the way out of the Wall of Champions. Perfect line from Ghost. Will he get into the 109s and claim the provisional pole? Absolutely. 109.867 for Ghost, our new champion. Felix has invalidated his lap, and I think he's done and dusted. Whether he can get to the end before the checkered flag, while he's skipping the chicane, and he bins it. He doesn't quite make contact with the Wall of Champions, but that perhaps was the last-ditch attempt. Stinos is nearly 4 tenths faster than he's been before through Sector 2 and has a purple middle sector, but that leaves Felix vulnerable. Burmeister and Speed Queen have secured their lap times where they are right now. Ivan Belov still battling for it, but here comes Stinos down the back straight, heading for the final chicane. Let's see if he can get himself anywhere near the front of the order. Going to need a very good final sector. Makes contact with the wall of champions. A little rub on the wall with the sidewall of his tyre and gets himself up to P3. That did it in style, JP.
Yeah, absolutely. Just looking down, Tirak on a lap, as is ARL. Tirak currently up on his current time, not by a lot though. He's got potential to make up a place or two on Rashka and Luke Bailey. Through the chicane he goes.
Fantastic from Tirak there.
And 8th place it is, ahead of Rashka and Luke Bailey in the end. Last I saw of ARL, he was about 7/10 down, so let's see what he can do. Rashka's lap's invalidated, so he's not going to be any bother to anyone.
Here comes ARL then to the line. No improvement from P11, but it's all about Ghost. Once again, Ghost on pole with a 109.867. Peerless, you'd have to say, on that final run. And no one else near him. I mean, Ghost himself has surprised himself in the chat. Mikey says, well done to Ghost, that was a great lap. And Yuri is here for Felix as well. I'm sure that NSX team will be loving the fact that they've got Felix on the front row of the grid. And, well, it's anyone's. Honestly, with Stinas in 3rd, the 2 Haas drivers 4th and 5th, this should be a really, really good final lap. Final race lap. But JP, you can take us through the standings for our qualifying.
Yeah, there will be a final lap in about 45 minutes' time, I think. But it is Ghost who takes the final pole position of the season. It was been an unforgettable season for himself. Alongside him is Felix. However, Felix is having issues at the moment with connections to the lobby. Row 2 is Stinos and Stefan. Row 3, Burmeister and Speed Queen. Row 4 is Ivan and Tirak. Row 5, Reshka and Luke Bailey. Row 6 is ARL and MDJ. And on his own at the back for row 7 in the 13th place is going to be Smoke. Yeah,
mouth-watering look at that top 6. Have to say, looking very, very competitive. Should be something very, very enjoyable, especially given the closeness. Half a second separating the top 7 drivers here in qualifying. We should. I know it's a short track, but yeah, it should be really, really special, especially with some rain. Let's hope that Felix can get back into the lobby. There is a little bit of a pause, so don't panic if you're watching and a fan of Felix. There should be time for him to get back in, because the IRL standards are that we have a decent pause here before the start of the race to let drivers have their strategy, make their strategy calls. But what do you make of these conditions, JP?
Well, looking at the Ferrari and Red Bull garages, we're looking at intermediates for the start of this. It just depends if this is going to clear up during the race. So, and this is where Stinos potentially is in a nice position, because from what I can tell, he didn't do 3 runs. He only done 2 runs, which means he would have saved a set of soft tyres. Mm-hmm. And if he has done that, and this rain clears up near the end of the race, he's in a really nice position to utilise those tyres at the end. But it depends whether the weather gods are with him or not on that one. And I do hope Felix gets back in, because he's showing some great pace tonight to be lining up second on the grid.
Absolutely. We'll be diving straight into the start procedure. No formation laps, so we'll be as quick and tidy with our camera work as we can be. But please bear with us if you don't have all the information on the screen. We'll have to catch up with tyre selections. I mean, tyres should be fairly straightforward, but positions gained and lost and things like that, a little bit tricky for us to get underway. We don't want to disrupt the first third of a lap, as it were. Oh, Felix tells us he's out. His game has crashed and he's not able to rejoin. What a shame for Felix. I'm sure that our admins are supplying him with invitations, but yeah, unfortunately, just not there. It's possible that his AI can start the race for him. ARL saying he gained 7 tenths. So he gained 7 tenths in that lap. So if he didn't mess up Sector 3, he could have gone, didn't mess up Turn 3, he could have got a lot higher up. Felix is spectating apparently, so maybe there's a hope he can get in, but probably not in time for the start, which will be in a few seconds time. Just enough time now to get your podium predictions in for us. Let us know which order you think the top 3 will finish. Will Ghost win his 11th race of the season, or can he be stopped? Let's see. we're about to be underway for you. Here come the red lights then. It's a rainy, wet start at the Canadian Grand Prix. It's time to drop the clutch and go, go, go. Bit of a tardy start away from the line from Ghost there relative to the AI-driven Felix. Ghost pulls to the side to defend from Felix and is very, very late on the brakes. Little bit of contact between Red Bull and Haas. Looks like the Haas of Stinos treading very, very carefully on the exit. Everybody struggling in their way out of turn 2. Being pretty careful at this very early stage. They know that they could easily destroy a race. Very, very difficult to win a race in the sector 1 of the first lap. But it's Ghost from Felix, and there goes round. Looks like it's ARL hitting the wall. And a nightmare of a start for the Alpha Tauri team, and for the it's not the first time we've said that in our coverage this season. Side by side goes Stinos and Stefan. Stefan on the outside approach with that nasty kink of Armco just under the Rolex bridge into turns 8 and 9, and it just about has they're still side by side. Tremendous stuff as Burmeister comes challenging alongside with his teammate. Now it looks like Stefan really lost out momentum going in there, and now he's defending to the inside. Now Burmeister just ahead. And it's Red Bull and Haas surrounding each other. The Ferrari of Ivan Belov paying close attention. JP, any news from the back?
Yeah, so Tirak lost his wing after turn 2. Took a trip to the inside wall, but Reshka MDJ side by side still, as MDJ actually just slots back in behind Reshka going into the final chicane. And obviously ARL, he's also lost his front wing, so both Alpha Tauris coming in for wing replacements, but this battle between MDJ and Reshka is getting very tasty as we enter lap number 2. They've pretty much been side by side with each other since, I don't know, there's the 8-9 chicane just before it.
Well, we've got still a tight battle here for P3. Stinos cut out the second part of the Wall of Champions chicane and handed the place back to Burmeister after gaining advantage. Has a look down into the difficult turn 6, and there's no way through just yet for him as Burmeister starts to focus on the back of the I think AI-driven Felix. Let's see. No, Felix appears to be back in the car, and you've got to be careful of AI cars in the wet because their pace tends to be pretty incredible. They tend to drive to the dry time frame as far as I've been able to witness, but 0.2 of a second separating Felix, Burmeister, and then further back Stinos as well, who almost slams into the back of Burmeister with a very late braking moment as Burmeister himself passes Felix on the way through Le Pingle, the hairpin of turn 10, and they still now side by side. No DRS, remember, this all has to be done using electrical energy. Burmeister has the inside line, the nose ahead on the way into the final chicane and completes the move, gets through the chicane with Felix struggling offline on the narrow line on the way into the Wall of Champions chicane and struggling along, but Ghost 3.2 seconds ahead after 3 laps, JP.
Yeah, Ivan and Speed Queen were side by side then for a bit, but Speed Queen just about holds on. It's brought MDJ into play. Luke Bailey had a bit of a moment halfway through the last lap, but he's managed to recover it back up to 9th. But so far, MDJ the biggest mover after the top 3, and he's looking at Ivan Belov. Ivan just having a little bit of a twitch through
contact! Contact, and Ivan loses the front wing. MDJ almost tipped around into the barriers, but actually but Ivan managed to turn him back the way he had been pointing, unfortunately at the cost of his own front wing. It's starting to kick off here, JP.
Yeah, just having a quick watch of the stream back, she had a better angle than I did of that one. Just looks like Ivan looks like a bit of understeer. The car just wouldn't grip up and it's just slid into MDJ there, so unlucky for the Ferrari, and Ivan's actually now got 3 seconds for corner cutting, probably trying to rush back to the pits. Meanwhile, Speed Queen Stefan side by side. Speed Queen looking to get 5th place away from the Haas driver.
Yeah, had a brilliant run through the hairpin. Stefan with a very, very late apex, or very late on the brakes at least. Speed Queen getting a little bit of a tow from the Aston Martin of Felix up ahead, and this is one of those rare things here. It seems to be Felix was that crossing, hitting the Wall of Champions. I think that was Felix losing a front wing end plate, possibly, JP.
It absolutely confirmed that Aston Martin now only has one end plate on that wing. That's going to be, wow, not necessarily a disaster. I mean, Ivan Belov has retired in the pits, so that's the end of his season. in F1, which is it's not the way you want to end your season in the pits there.
No, the previous season's F2 champion Ivan Beloff did make an appearance on the podium and has found himself roughly middle of the road through the season, but he's had some pretty bad luck and some pretty big contact with drivers as well. And I have to say, big word of thanks to Ivan for running the admin of the league this season as well. He's worked very hard for us, giving out the invites, organising drivers and attendance and everything. So thank you to him. And he's actually accusing Speed Queen of a brake test. I think maybe just a hot-headed driver out the race, but that's certainly the accusation at the moment. Burmeister in second place, Stinos in third, Felix fighting off Speed Queen now and struggling on very, very low downforce, at least on one side of the front wing of the car. But really, the pit window is not going to be open for a long time here, JP. I don't know if he'll have to pit now or try and brave it out into the pits.
Just pit now, yeah. I think he's just losing too much time there to the likes of Stinos. But just looking a bit further down, the smoke is on the back of Reshka. Probably one of the closer battles we have. Smoke did say he was 8/10ths up on his qualifying time, but then invalidated, so he had potential in the dry to be around the top 5 pace, but he's got an Alpine very much stuck in front of him.
Yeah, and Reshka going for points here tonight, of course. Try and contribute to the Alpine Constructors winning championship point tally. At the moment, it's looking like it's going to go the way of Alpine. Remember, as JP rightly told us earlier on, nothing less than a 1-2 for Haas and a double non-finish or double finish outside of the points, I should say, for Alpine would prevent an Alpine victory.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be tough work for the Haases. All they can do is basically drive as well as they can, and kind of hope a little bit. Something I have noticed though, Webbo, when Ivan went into the pits, I think it might be something new to the patch, whilst I keep an eye on Reshka and Smoke. The AI did not return to track to retire the car. It did actually retire in the pit box, which I think is something new from the update today, which is always good because it means it does mean that turn 1 remains open for overtaking when someone does do that.
And as you say that, turn 1 saw an overtaking move. It was MDJ against Stefan. Stefan really struggling through that hairpin. What does that indicate to you about either the driver's setup or driving style? How he's so slow through and out of the hairpin at this point?
It could be a couple of factors. Whether Stefan is expecting this to dry up at all later on, he could be running a very much a dry setup, or it could just be a factor that he's running dry tyre pressures, which isn't always the most helpful. A lot of people think you drop the pressures in the wet because you then get more contact on the road and get more grip, which isn't actually the truth. In actual fact, you actually put more pressure in it to open up the grooves of the tyres to clear the water. So if he's running slightly lower pressures through these slower corners, he's not going to be clearing the water as much as others. And you see there as he comes out with the hairpin with a little bit of a twitch, losing a bit of grip.
Yep, we've got Smoke right on the back of Reshka here now, as MDJ has in fact started to gap Stefan. Reshka derating down the main straight. We know that the top speed won't be a problem for Alpine. Setup sharing goes on across the team, and Ghost never shy of a bit of top speed. Burmeister has gained 3 places. MDJ has gained 7 from his start. Luke Bailey up 3, Smoke himself up 4, and it's been a nightmare for Felix, down 8 places. I didn't catch. Oh, that's right. He pitted for the new front wing. So I don't know if he'll be going for an undercut here, but will he be able to get a second set of intermediates to the end if conditions hold? Currently, the rain coming in sideways in Sector 1.
Yeah, a bit of an issue. I think that's possibly something to do with the camera. But yeah, I mean, Felix really here, he's looking for a safety car because I don't think he's going to be able to get to the end on that set of intermediates, which means he's kind of like in the same boat as everyone right now. Everyone's still to make another pit stop.
Well, we say that, and that would obviously be a natural assumption. However, through Miami, we had 3 or 4 drivers opt to go for a single set of inters the entire race. So is that less likely here?
a lot more. There's a lot more traction zones around here. I mean,
Right.
granted, there is slightly less high speed corners, but there are a few more traction zones. But it depends how kind you're on your tyres. But what we also did see in Miami, which might sway drivers, is how much slower those who were on the older tyres were in comparison to those in effectively the same part of the field. For example, Ghost versus Burmeister. Ghost was much faster than Burmeister come the end of the race with those newer tyres on. So I think it'll depend a lot on what happens and what Ghost decides to do, what Burmeister will do, and Stinos. Those top three, if they all stay out, it wouldn't surprise me if everyone tries to stay out. But yellow flags, Reshka, Luke Bailey?
Yeah, it's certainly a Mercedes. Yeah, it's certainly Mercedes is having problems through that. Just keeping my eye just ahead on the field as MDJ comes up behind Speed Queen, who played the role of no stopping blocker in the previous race, causing all manner of tense moments for the top three as they tried to navigate their way past her. She's doing the same to MDJ right now, using those intermediates as little as possible, possibly going for a similar long strategy. If there's an alternate strategy to be had, you've got to know that Speed Queen will be the one trying it. She'll be using a bit of ERS as well to get away here from MDJ. Let's have a quick check, actually, a sneaky little look at the ERS deployment situation. I won't announce it, but there you go. You've seen it. She's on about double what MDJ is, but MDJ himself not on a lot. So he's obviously spent a lot moving through the field. Stinos with the first penalty on the board. First, I'm sure, of not the only penalty. And we've yet to see a safety car through lap 9 of a wet Canadian Grand Prix.
Yeah, everyone driving really nicely as Luke Bailey comes into the pits for a new front wing, as is inevitable. Stinos is right behind Burmeister, and you get the feeling that he's going to start trying to shape this one up here, Webbo.
Yep.
He's going to want to try and clear Burmeister if he thinks he's got the pace to come after Ghost.
The key, I guess, is to make the driver in front go offline in defence, or narrow off an entry to a corner, so he can, you yourself can then make a better line through the corner. Let's see if Stinos, as he almost snowplows Burmeister into the hairpin. It is very close. We've got two pairs of drivers about to make moves here for P2 and P4, P2 and P4 respectively. Here comes Stinos, 4.5 tenths. That doesn't appear to be close enough without the use of DRS in these wet conditions, JP, to make a move.
Yeah, and you know, there's a few drivers, other than Ghost, because we know what his super ability is, almost refraining from trying to use the ERS to make a move down that straight, because it is such a hard circuit to gain that ERS back. So, and as we've seen countless times from Ghost, it's a massive weapon in the arsenal if you've got more than your opponent.
Yeah.
The tricky bit today, though, is a big twitch from Burmeister, who looks out on the chicane. The difficult bit here is you don't know if your opponent's actually derating or not, because the derating light is the wet weather light.
Absolutely, yeah, good catch on that one. Yella joins us in the live chat, and he's asked if traction control is on in F1 next season. JP, have you heard anything on that?
No, I believe rules and regs for next season will probably come out early part of next year, I thought. But no news on next season's regulations, shall we say.
I have seen a couple of leagues decide to loosen some of the fairly strict rules in terms of assists. I don't know if that's a trend that is going to develop or just leagues I happen to be part of, but yeah, this is the top echelon of drivers in a prestigious league, Invictus Racing League, now into and about to finish season 15. You would hope, I would certainly hope that no assist stays, frankly.
I mean, it does make it a lot very, very interesting, doesn't it? And there's a lot more for these drivers to really think about, process, and driver mistakes. Whilst we never really like to see them, I mean, obviously some people might do. I don't know, but it's good to have that sort of peril in the race. That if you do make a mistake, there's every chance you're going to lose a place or two because of it.
I think we've got Ghost here managing the gap now, JP. He hasn't really extended it beyond that 5.5 second line for a little while. There's no reason for Ghost to spend the tyres and ERS and fuel to extend that gap at this point. It really could be any moment a safety car, so anything more than a 5-second gap is really not going to buy him a great deal.
No, I mean, the only reason he'd want to get that gap a bit more open is if he's looking to maybe go to the end on this race, or leave himself with options available. Because the problem is you can never work on, we're definitely having a safety car. You can just never work like that. You have to work on the basis that the race would be under green flag conditions the whole way.
I say he's not pushing. I think he's listening to the stream, because there goes a new fastest lap.
But if he extends that gap, what that enables Ghost to do, if this does remain green all the way, it enables him both options of going to the end on that set of tyres and just doing a no stop, or if he's going to try that, it also gives him the option that he's got that 6-second window when others come in, if they come in, that we can work out if he's losing time and get in the pits and get back out in front of everyone else, should he require. So it's still a really nice tactical thing to have, is that slightly larger gap.
Definitely.
MDJ all over the back of the gearbox of Speed Queen, actually looking to the side. Not going to do it there though. Like I say, that's not the place you really want to be overtaking unless you're already side by side under that bridge.
And I think he bailed quite early in that attempt. Speed Queen forces him to the outside in the following hairpin here. She will claim that inside line there. We'll go side by side. MDJ a shade ahead, and I think ahead enough here to resist being pushed to the outside and having to lift. MDJ completing the move around the outside of the hairpin. Not often you see a complete outside move completed like that. MDJ driving incredibly well. Speed Queen with great top speed though, coming down towards the chicane. They go side by side. They'll have to cooperate here, JP, and MDJ just with the nose ahead.
Yeah, that's a very audacious move, and I applaud Speed Queen for that one, because that is a fantastic little move you can pull off. She's now all over the back of MDJ, looking to retake that place, but not quite being able to do so through turns 1 and 2. MDJ, perfect round the outside of the hairpin, just kept alongside Speed Queen, and because he's on the outside, can just straighten up the wheel, get the power on early, take the place. But great cooperation between the two through that chicane. I mean, that could have easily been 2 cars in the Wall of Champions.
Absolutely. Well, 8 places gained now for MDJ. Another penalty on the board. This one for Tirac. 2 lots of 3-second penalties on our board so far through lap 13 of 35. We'd love to see Yella back, and he's saying that Jaume is planning to make a comeback as well, as MDJ pushing to gap. Speed Queen rubs the wall as well, we're looking forward to all drivers that can make it back, but past champions and past challengers would be all the more welcome. As I mentioned before, my 3 consecutive seasons here at Invictus Racing League have been utterly dominated by a single driver each time, and if I could have 2 or 3 of them face to face and a head-to-head battle, I would absolutely love it. But take nothing away from Ghost. It has been the most victorious and most dominant season of anyone in Invictus F1 division history. He is on now for his potential 11th win of the season, as I've mentioned before, and not only that, JP, but his 14th podium.
Yeah, that's an impressive stat. 15 rounds, 14 podiums. I mean, you can't say the guy doesn't deserve a title for those stats. I mean, if you lose a title on those stats, you'd have to be thinking, what on earth happened? But ARL now picks up a time penalty as Reshka comes into the pits. But with just before Reshka came in the pits, he was in 8th place, which would have put Alpine 28 points ahead of Haas. Obviously, now he is down into 11th. Alpine will only have the 25 points in hand over Haas. Very much enough to secure the title at the moment.
The gap at the front now out to 6.8 seconds. Ghost in the lead. Reshka though on the back of ARL. That's new tyres on the car for Reshka. We'll get an idea of the relative pace now, JP. What will you be looking for here? Would you estimate in terms of pace delta between new intermediates and, say, for instance, 12 or 13 lap old ones?
Hard to say. I think it would be worth at least a few tenths of a second, I would have thought. But again, it all depends on how comfortable you are on the tyres you've got.
Yeah, sometimes there's too much grip on an intermediate for the given conditions, and actually they went to their sweet spot once they've worn a little bit. Would you say?
They can do. They can act like that, but on the game they tend to be pretty consistent grip until it either gets a little bit too wet or a little bit too dry. As here comes Reshko with a great run out of the final chicane and up into 10th place. That's a pretty easy move for the Alpine in the end, even with that little bit of jostling for position down the main straight. But I'd be expecting Reshko here to be just driving away from ARL with the extra traction he's got.
Absolutely. It's got a 13-second gap, though, to P9. Make that a 10-second gap with the penalty situation. ARL has now picked up a penalty as well. So Ghost in the lead, 7.4 seconds after 15 laps from Burmeister, Stinos, MDJ having the climb through the field so far from Speed Queen in 5th, Stefan in 6th. All the likely drivers up there at the top. Smoke, who is a full-time F2 driver, I believe. Smoke in P7 at the moment, and not a too distant P7 either. Felix struggling in P8. We were hoping for a Felix highlight race today. Unfortunately, contact early on saw him have to pit very early, only 5 laps in for a new front wing and a new set of tyres. But he will be one of the probably most likely to make it to the end without stopping again now, I would have thought, as Speed Queen now dropping by probably about a tenth or 2 tenths every sector here, JP, and struggling to make up the pace. But I wonder if she's managing that pace for a no-stopper.
Yeah, there's every chance for Speed Queen. I mean, I don't think anyone can really predict what sort of strategy Speed Queen's going to pull out the bag. But yeah, it's an awkward one here around Canada, because obviously when you do get the rain, obviously you've got to be very good on the traction zones, which does open up the gaps, as we can see here at the moment. I mean, Stinos, we saw earlier, he was all over the back of Burmeister. Now he's 1.6 behind, 1.7 as we go into the chicane. And I think this kind of... it might show the ERS strategy slightly as well, because obviously Stinos not catching Burmeister, which could mean he's using a bit less ERS and trying to save it for later in the race. You just don't know, but with everyone gapped out like this, I don't see a safety car really appearing unless someone makes a pretty major mistake.
Well, we'll have to hope that didn't just jinx something for somebody, but it's possible. The window for a direct split halfway through the race will be at the end of this lap. I would have thought will be open for that if the drivers just want to maximise the grip available on the intermediate tyres and stop once. Ivan, who has driven this car, this racetrack in these conditions tonight, says that the Inters will burn out. It won't be possible to do a one-stop. So we'll quote him on that as long as everybody makes it. But as I say before, lap 17 with Ghost in the lead by 6.9 seconds from Burmeister. Ghost was looking forward, JP, 2 or 3 races ago to Canada. He was picking this one as potentially his most, or at least his favourite, if not his fastest race pace. So he certainly called that one early on. And it is proving to be that as the reigning champion right now, he has the pace of the field and is peerless tonight.
Yeah, I think he's got the setup right for the conditions. He's obviously very comfortable around the circuit. I mean, don't get me wrong, it is a lovely circuit to drive, especially when you get it right round there. It is fantastic. Fantastic driving circuit. That gap, though, Burmeister's brought it down to 6.6. So are we now starting to see that maybe Ghost has burnt the Inters a little bit earlier than Burmeister? It's one to definitely keep an eye on, even though it's still 6.5 seconds, just over. If you burn out your Inters too early, there's every chance Burmeister can start to reel Ghost back in, especially if Ghost pits and Burmeister's trying a no-stop.
Yeah, I have to say, I feel like Ghost has probably got the pace in hand to make that work. But why would he make a decision ahead of everybody else and kind of welcome them all to do the opposite of him? I think with that gap, JP, he's more likely to just wait for everyone else to blink rather than be the one that pits early.
Yeah, you'd think so with Ghost. However, there are times where the leader does decide to trigger everything.
Yeah.
It's just not going to be this lap for Ghost, that's for certain. Yeah, there's every chance Ghost might be the first to pit because, I mean, he's 6 seconds ahead of Burmeister. I mean, what's a pit stop right now? About 20 seconds, just over. So, it'd be about 14, just under 14 seconds behind Burmeister. And you'd have to feel Ghost would be the sort of person who would be able to take that out of Burmeister with the tyre difference of age. So, every chance Ghost will take a pit stop and almost force everyone to pit as well.
I just had a little look at Ghost's. I'm just going to ride on board with Ghost for a lap or so and see how the car is handling. Hasn't used a jot of ERS again, so he's bossing the field without using the ERS deployment. I know it's not a difficult track to recover in the wet, that ERS charge, but there we go. He's hit several fastest laps already and still on 100%. So I think has got some pace in hand. A little lock-up though going into the hairpin. Looked like he had at least the fronts locked up there. Certainly making plenty of noise on the way in. Simon says he thinks the weather is clearing up. Is that down to the pace change, do we think, or is that just visually? Because I wouldn't always believe what the PS4 renders in terms of the weather. You don't get the spray effect as quite as well rendered as on a better system, and especially for a spectator, JP. It's difficult to read the weather just by looking at the screen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I will say Ghost does use the ERS every now and again when he decides he wants to actually have a bit of a faster lap. So those fast laps that he's been, I think he has used some ERS on those ones. Just put them in, maybe just extend the gap a little bit. But yeah, everyone just a little bit spaced out right now, which is a bit of a shame for Canada because there's so many overtaking spots. You can have a lot of switchbacks and and some long battles, as we've seen with the likes of Speed Queen, MDJ, and Stefan. That little midfield, upper midfield pack that was around. That it shows the potential of what Canada can produce.
I wonder though how early you think, if it were to dry, how early or how deep into the race would you expect drivers to be able to use the softs at the end? Are we looking at 10 laps? Not that many?
Ooh, that's a tough decision because it's slightly colder. I mean, 10 laps probably at the most.
Right.
That's at the upper end of the scale for the softs, in my opinion. But again, different people, different tyre wear rates, as we've seen before. But yeah, in my opinion, 10 laps probably the most you'll get out of a set of softs around here. But I expect everyone will be looking for more around the 7 to 8 region, just to give themselves that little bit of extra so they can actually push on them. As Stefan, the latest person to claim 3 seconds.
And I think that's two 3-second penalties awarded in the last lap. So is that an indication that? Oh, well, there's another one from Felix. I think there might be an indication that those starting intermediates, although not on Felix's car, but might be running a little bit low on grip, or maybe the grip is starting to improve and drivers are finding more pace. Smoke is certainly finding pace against Stefan though. Suddenly took a big chunk of time out of Stefan in that one, as Stinos picks up a penalty as well. What's going on tonight?
Second as well, Webbo. He's now up to 6 seconds, which puts him in the frame almost of being dropped behind Speed Queen. Stefan, I wonder if his penalties come through possibly this turn 3-4 chicane. Maybe he's gone across the grass, and because of that, you don't actually gain any time by doing that. Weirdly enough, being on the grass. So I wonder if that's happened. That's why Smoke's caught him up so much, is because Stefan's trying to recover off of the grass and back onto the tarmac. So he's lost time and also been given insult to injury with the mistake.
Yeah, well, suddenly Stefan extends that gap out again, so an off-track excursion is absolutely tracking with that explanation, JP. We've got Stinos just as close to Burmeister as Smoke is to Stefan, so it's 50-50 which of them will be on the attack. Stinos does look to have a little bit more pace, but he's slightly less consistent, or certainly less within track limits so far in tonight's proceedings. Ghost still holds the lead on lap 22, so what have we got? 13 laps left to run with Burmeister. in second place. Very strong outing for Burmeister so far. He's had a really good season. Certainly the second half of the season, it's been very good. Stinos in third. MDJ in fourth. Moving up, let me just check this one. 8 places from his start position. Speed Queen is in 5th. Stefan 6th, down 2. And Smoke has gone up 6 places as well. Not bad for an F2 driver, you have to say, here in the wet. Felix down 6 himself. Into P8, and then Tirak, Reshka making out the top 10. Reshka on for points, which he will definitely like to finish the season scoring, and then Luke Bailey in IRL. Some distance away here, having to pit for damage, much more costly for them than it was for Felix at a similar point in the race. But Smoke now down to within 0.7 of a second once again, and certainly it looks like Stefan a little bit inconsistent. With a yellow flag have we got? Is that Luke Bailey?
Luke Bailey has spun once again at the 3-4 chicane. Luckily he's got going again.
Yeah.
As Reshka picks up a time penalty, so no safety car by the looks of it at the moment. Although
that is the second problem at that corner, isn't it, for the Mercedes tonight?
It is, yeah. It's not the first time he's gone round there. So another new wing, and I do wonder if this is going to prompt Luke Bailey into the pits and potential retirement for the Mercedes.
He's off track again. Is he just getting out of the way? Right.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. He's just getting out of the way of lap cars. As there goes, I believe, Speed Queen. Yeah, big shame that for Luke Bailey, but. I wonder. I do wonder if this will prompt a retirement from him, or whether he'll keep going on the off chance that others may still have unfortunate mistakes. But Stinos, got to go back to this battle for a second, because Stinos is suddenly now 3/10 behind Burmeister.
Absolutely, closing in very nicely indeed. Not able to get a top speed sufficient down the back straight, but he'll concentrate on a good exit from the final chicane here. Let's see if he can get down the inside or not. Not quite. Simon Palmer appears to be spectating. I think he might be in the lobby spectating, and he says he can't see raindrops. I can see plenty of them. There is that retirement that you predicted from Luke Bailey, unfortunately, and Stinos looking into turn 3. You don't want to make a pass there, but maybe just trying to feint a move and produce a reaction from the car behind. Here he goes, though, down into the next one, but no, not quite. Again, half of a look, but he pulled out of that one just in time.
Yeah, Stinos definitely looking racy now, but his biggest problem now is he's got a 6-second penalty overhanging his head. So this move is going to be crucial for him, because he's going to want to get past Burmeister and get on off up the road to try and keep at least a podium position here.
Absolutely. They're coming up to catch and lap one of the Alpha Tauris, so that is a potential snag for Burmeister. It may be that Stinos can get an extra advantage. He may not need it, though, as he gets super close in the background as Burmeister goes to the inside. Gives the racing line, though, to Stinos, who can brake later and smoother through the corner. Ghost picks up a new fastest lap. Stinos picks up a place to second, on the road at least, but with 6 seconds of penalties on the car.
Yeah, and Ghost possibly showing that the rain is not as heavy as it was, but we do definitely still have some rain, or at least that's what our consoles
on my cameras,
are showing anyway.
For sure, yeah.
So yeah, Ghost obviously probably showing that it is easing up, but not enough yet. Well, in fact, nowhere near enough really to have some dry tyres on the car. I mean, if someone wants to try it, we'll be happy to watch.
Pretty sure Simon Palmer is going to keep predicting things tonight until he gets one right. Unfortunately, just put in the chat that Luke won't retire. It's not in his DNA. So unfortunately, that one's not worked. ARL picks up another penalty, and they really are adding up. Jim joins us for the first time, enjoying that one. I haven't heard from Gam, Speed Queen's sister and #1 fan tonight. So Gam, if you're watching, reassure us that you're here cheering on Speed Queen in P5 at the moment, gaining 1 place from her start position, but Ghost still in the lead by 8.1 seconds with 10 laps to go. Yeah,
and bear in mind, Speed Queen on the fringe. I'm just going to have a quick look at the leaders time. Yeah, she's on the fringe. She's just outside that 6 seconds against Stinos.
Yeah.
So she's not far away from potentially having another place, but again, it all depends on what Stinos does. Yellow flag, I think that's for the Alpha Tauri of ARL, just relinquishing the leaders, letting them go through.
Yeah, looks to be.
Why you need a yellow flag for that, I have no idea from the game. But
just panic us for nothing, but we'll take it in terms of excitement.
Stinos is just now starting to edge away from Burmeister. He's up to 1.1, and the gap is like lingering between 1 second and 1.3.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how Stinos controls that gap, whether he can start making inroads, because he is starting to make a little bit of inroad into Ghost as well. That gap now down to 7.8. That was about 8.4.
Well, I think Stinos' first job here is to keep the podium, so to put a 6-second gap onto MDJ and defend from that position. I think that would be the most realistic target here, although he is dropping Burmeister fairly consistently. We'll see if that works out, but Ghost well out there in front, although that gap has come down a little bit as Stinos starts to push here and to try and build that gap he needs to move on. Good evening to Gam, who's here for Speed Queen, and Simon Palmer does let us know that Luke told him that we are expecting consistent rain conditions to the end of the race, so no dry laps, we don't think, at this point, but you never know. I don't by the sound of things in the driver chat pre-race, everyone was getting slightly different predictions and symbols on their display in terms of the prediction tonight.
Yeah, it's always an interesting one to try and call, and you got to go with your gut instinct and everything. But Burmeister still is just hovering, isn't he? It's almost like Burmeister. But Burmeister has the top speed over Stinos, I think, but Stinos definitely has the downforce through the corners.
Yeah.
Which is a massive factor, but Tirak going for king of track limits, 9 seconds with a penalty so far, compared to his teammate ARL with 6, as is Stinos on 6. Everyone else that does have a penalty is only on 3 seconds so far, so Stefan, Felix and Reshka.
I don't know how to name that award. I'm tempted to call it the Roy Nissani Award, if there's any F2 fans out there. Renz is here for plenty of chat, and he tells us that smoke has fallen off Stefan and is barely now within that 3-second range. So great call from Rents, trying to hang on to P6 smoke, but he is. Was that Burmeister on the wall or just very close?
Burmeister very close, very twitchy out of the chicane, and that's going to all put an end to his hanging on to Stinos now. 1.8 seconds pretty much the gap. But yeah, I mean, smoke down to 2.4 against Stefan. Probably to be expected, as that gap did close when Stefan, as far as we're concerned, had that moment. So possibly something that was to be expected, unfortunately, with smoke. But still a good drive nonetheless. I mean, Felix is not catching him. I mean, we know how quick Felix is.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Smoke is driving very well here tonight. It looks like we have answered the question of whether anyone might consider a no-stop tonight, and basically everyone is going to consider a no-stop tonight.
And unless you've broken your front wing, you're not stopping for the entirety, I think is what we found out.
Well, I hope all the other division drivers who are tuning in tonight, not least of whom is JP here, you're leading the F3 Championship?
Won.
You've won it.
Won that one, yeah.
Tremendous. So F3 champion in the comms box. That's why he knows what he's talking about all the time.
Yeah, same week as Ghost, incidentally.
Awesome.
Which was quite nice. But yeah, no, it's definitely good information for everyone. I mean, even though well, you'd like to think you wouldn't get 3 intermediate races all the way through the week, or should I say 4, but it's still good information if you do get these sort of conditions.
Yeah.
Just to know that you can actually go all the way to the end, especially if you're careful enough on your tyres. But Stinos, I'm going to keep my eye on this gap here for Stinos, because he isn't far away now from getting that 6-second gap over MDJ. It's up around it's nearing now the 5-second mark, and he's only got 6 laps left to do it.
Absolutely. Well, good evening to Isabel Palmer. Isabel give your dad a hand with some predictions tonight. Let's see if you can predict something that comes to fruition that your dad hasn't managed yet. And tell us, of course, Isabel, who's your favourite driver driving here tonight or in F1 on real life F1. It's always important for us to find that out. But yeah, let us know who your favourite drivers are. And great to have you watching with your dad and joining in. I hope you're going to tune in and watch your dad driving as well and see how he gets on later in the week. Well, Ghost, another fastest lap of 120.2. Stretching that gap now 7 seconds clear, but is effectively 13 seconds in truth ahead of Stinos with the penalties. And Smoke just staying here with Stefan definitely has caught again. And Stefan, just that inconsistency possibly. I don't think it's Smoke suddenly turning the wick up. I think it's Stefan just struggling to have consistent grip around this circuit tonight. Maybe he set up the car anticipating some dry conditions later on. There are 5 laps to go in this final race here in Invictus F1, but don't be too sad. There's plenty of racing left in the season, and make sure that, of course, you subscribe to the channel, like the video tonight, and then you'll hear us as soon as we go live in season 16, and we'll be right there for you. But remember to tune into F2, F3, and the realistic performance leagues in the days to follow this week as well. It's been a really enjoyable season, JP. Any sort of key highlights for you before we get done on this race?
Well, pretty much every race, I think. I mean, obviously, Ghost has been phenomenally quick and obviously a very deserving champion. But, I mean, the Living Wall, I think you have to give credit to him and Burmeister. I think, and obviously Stinos in the last couple, the only people to actually win races other than Ghost. I mean, those are all highlights there, just having... not necessarily not talking to Ghost, because he's ended up on the podium pretty much every time. But yeah, not saying, oh, Ghost, you've won another race. It's someone different. So those are always highlights. And Living Wall in Austria was a fantastic drive, I thought. In particular, that dry to wet race, and his call to go on the intermediates was a massive highlight on that one.
Stefan, just as it was starting to wind towards the end of this race with 4 laps to go, Stefan on the exit of turn 3. Is that an indication that he hasn't got enough grip for the end of at the end of the race? Perhaps he'll certainly struggle now lighting them up, but he's lost that place. He's got the 3-second penalty, and it's easy now. MDJ, Speed Queen, and Smoke have all picked up those places up. Moving forward, it's so absolutely. I thought the previous 2 races were absolute. If my throat after a race is anything to go by, it was the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix and the Miami Grand Prix here that were just race long highlight reels this season. Absolutely love them. And that was after the title had been won, of course. So always something to tune into here. Isabel tells us that Luke is her favourite racing tonight. Unfortunately, I think basically a Mercedes fan through and through, with her dad who tends to drive a Mercedes. I don't know what he's driving this season, but he tends to, and also having Lewis Hamilton as her favourite driver. So I have to say, good taste in drivers there.
At least we know why Simon's so quick. I mean, he's got a fantastic engineer sat next to him all the time.
Of course, yeah, calling the races for him.
Secrets to success is a good engineer. Yeah, I think Simon in the Alfa Romeo camp, I think, in F2 this season. Last
season he was in the Mercedes, so I thought perhaps there was a chance that she was Mercedes through and through. Well, MDJ, this could be a battle for the end of the race. He's now close within a second of Burmeister. That's not counting any kind of penalties. He's on the cusp of getting Stinos. Stinos is trying to gap these two, but now if they start fighting, that could secure Stinos on P3 here, JP, tonight.
Yeah, the smart thing here from MDJ would actually try and work with Burmeister until the last lap. If you're going to overtake him, do it on the last lap when you've got a little bit of margin to play with, because he's only got he's got 5.3 seconds now to Stinos, so he's got 7/10 if he wants to claim it. Obviously, the only other time you would go earlier than the last lap in this situation is if Stinos does get that 6 seconds on you, and your only hope of a podium is actually overtaking the guy ahead of you. But right now, MDJ's got that little bit of time available to him, so... But he's not quite close enough. He's about 7/10 away from Burmeister, so he's not quite close enough yet to even think about making an overtake.
He's got some good ERS profit over Burmeister as well. 2 laps to go, plus the one that they're on at the moment. As Ghost, I think, comes through sector... into sector 3. He's got his teammate, the next one, that will be the target to lap. He'll try and avoid doing that, I would imagine. But MDJ half a second away, and Rent says Burr is paying the dues now for pushing early on. It's possible, certainly possible. I'm not riding in his car at the moment. I can't really tell you if he's visibly struggling, but MDJ absolutely turning up the pressure now towards the end of this race. Half a second as they go down the Casino Straight for the 34th time here of asking, and over the chicane. Burmeister, nice smooth exit though out of the Wall of Champions chicane.
Yeah, across the line. They're actually going on to lap number 34 now for this pair. I see Ghost miles up the road. Unfortunately for Felix, Felix is not actually... He's had some more communication issues with the car, and unfortunately his AI is actually pitted for a new set of intermediates.
Oh no.
Which means that the place he did have, he doesn't have if he does manage to get back in. But the problem is, if he doesn't get back in his car, he won't be classified, and ARL will get 10th place. So he's going to want to get back in that car, at least so that he can cross the line and claim that final point.
Here comes MDJ then, 1/10 of a second behind Burmeister. They were both snaking their way out of turn 3, which was the corner that upset Burmeister's teammate Stefan, as MDJ looking to launch one here. He's been given the inside line towards the hairpin. There's less grip on the braking zone, and he gets alongside, more than alongside, all the way through. Burmeister with a switchback move like a pro there, and they go side wall to side wall, side by side, down the Casino Straight. Who's got the most ERS? Well, we know it was MDJ if he keeps pressing the button, but Burmeister has managed to out-drag him towards the final chicane there. Ghost has started the final lap. These two will be about to do the same, and here comes MDJ leaving that ERS for the last run. They're down to the absolute dregs down there. They will hardly recover any, and Burmeister hanging on for grim. Well, at the moment, he's risking here losing his second place potentially, and they're fighting each other to the point now that they're outdoing their own their podium, and Burmeister with a Sebastian Vettel-like wiggle all the way through corners 3 and 4, loses the grip and manages to safely rejoin, which Vettel didn't, according to the stewards that year. But Ghost is well ahead. MDJ has got Burmeister, and now has got a target to try and get that P2 and get within 6 seconds of Stinos with those penalties. He's got 0.2 of a second so far, MDJ, with it all to do on this final lap. There's a yellow flag on the car. It's Stefan. Round at 2 for the second time tonight. Reschke picks up another penalty. It's all going on, JP. It looks like it's Ghost though.
To the final corner.
Here he comes.
Ghost into the final chicane, and this is going to be a win for Ghost. And not only a win for Ghost, it's going to be a win for Alpine in the constructors.
11 wins in a season and 14 podiums for Ghost. Tremendous. And as JP says, secures that Constructors' Championship. Stinos picks up second on the road. Will MDJ get him?
He's going to hold that.
He's going to keep it by half a second. Burmeister slams into the wall, probably in frustration. Almost bettered there by Speed Queen in 5th at the end. Smoke will come round here. He had a rough night at different points through the season, but tonight it's been a really good one for Smoke. P6 and through the final part of asking here. Tirac has DNF'd on the final lap, opening a potential point score here for ARL. His teammate Stefan has recovered the car. He's still in 7th. Tremendous here. Down into the final chicane, looking for a good exit. Another 3-second penalty over the chicane for Stefan. Not a great night for Stefan. He was desperate to win this season after being second to Ghost so often, but his pace has really tailed off in these last few races. Might be a practice issue or a time available. Reschke in P8 gets points for Alpine as well, and we'll hope to get Reschke into the chat tonight as a winning constructor. But Ghost, Stinos, and MDJ your podium. MDJ, the official driver of the day. Hard to argue with that. I think that was a 9-place climb, JP.
Yeah, that was a very impressive drive from MDJ. No doubt about it. And it makes you wonder what he could have done had he had a much better qualifying there. With that sort of pace on board that car. And it's worth noting, Tirac actually went off after the 8-9 chicane. So not necessarily an unusual place, but certainly unusual at this sort of level to be going off there. But again, it could just be a bit too much curb. And also worth noting, Felix did not get back in his car come the end of the race, which means he's probably not going to be classified in the results.
Absolutely. Well, some post-season comments coming in as the champagne is sprayed on our podium. ARL has turned up to just tell us that he had a great first half of the season, but a really difficult second half. Lots didn't go his way, but he's going to come back stronger, which is the spirit we like to see. JP, for the final time this season, take us through the provisional results.
So then, it is Ghost with yet another victory and a very dominating drive tonight. At the circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Stinos second, keeping hold of that after picking up a couple of penalties. MDJ third, rounding out the podium. A fantastic way for him to end his first bit part season, shall we say, in IRL. Burmeister fourth, Speed Queen rounds up top 5. Smoke in sixth, probably his best result of the season, a fantastic drive from him. Stefan seventh, Reshka eighth, shows Felix as ninth, but it's actually going to be probably ARL because Tirac retired. Felix was in the car, so ARL will technically take ninth, and the remainder of the group unfortunately not finishing the race.
No, indeed. Well, as the drivers assemble in the press conference, I think it's unlikely we'll speak to Stinos. I know he's had problems. I'm not sure about MDJ either. We haven't spoken to him before, but I have pre-prepared to try and speak to Reshka. We may get both Alpine Constructors champions with us. Stinos is pretty happy with that second place, I think, after all. In the driver chat, he's pleased to say so. But we'll talk to Ghost while he's here, and we'll JP. I don't know if you can remind Reshka. We'd love to talk to him at the in the press conference after we've talked to the champion of our season. We've been saying that for some time now, but the record-breaking and extending record-breaking 11-time winner, 14-time podium placer in this season of 15 races, by the way. Mr. Ghost, Mr. Champion, that was probably the greatest one so far.
I didn't expect because that qualifying lap was, I said in the chat, the best of the season.
Yeah.
Absolutely nailed that. So I was really, really happy with that. But I thought the race pace would be a lot closer and I'd be under pressure. And I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened to everyone else's pace, but I mean, it gave me I mean, I wouldn't say relaxing. Canada in the rain is not relaxing.
No.
But a comfortable race at least, which was, I think, not the action-packed way I would have wanted to finish the season, but it's a nice way to win the season regardless.
Absolutely. I mean, congratulations. JP, any questions for Ghost?
Well, I think we're pretty much out of questions really for Ghost, other than yeah. I mean, how tricky was that, and were you on a wet setup? Is pretty much the only ones we can really ask you on that one, because like I say we kind of run out of them, haven't we, Webber?
Pretty much, yeah. Ghost, talk us through strategy today, and we were getting a lot of different reports in the driver chat earlier on about whether they were expecting rain or not through the race. So how did you tackle that one tonight?
Me and Reshka were pretty confident there would be rain, if not 100%, because the game is, as you would expect, the game is bugged. And when the quali weather is different to the race weather, it keeps the sun from the quali weather, but the rain chance is like 80%. So it's like, okay, it's gonna rain.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we both sort of modified our dry setups a bit. We didn't put full wet setups on. We just modified a bit, and then went for it. And it was, yeah, it was tricky, for sure. I had, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you caught any. I had maybe 2 or 3 sort of moments. I think 2 of them at turn 2. It's always tricky coming out of there in the dry, never mind the wet.
Yeah, it was the scene of a number of accidents tonight. Turn 2, turn 3 as well, particularly for Mercedes cars, was a problem. But yeah, absolutely, it was. I'm afraid we didn't spend a lot of time watching you tonight, as we've probably explained before. But let me talk to the other drivers in the press conference. Let me just make sure that they check that they are sharing their audio in their party settings. Neither MDJ nor Reshka have we actually successfully spoken to yet. I will go to MDJ though. MDJ, welcome to Invictus Racing League. You've made quite the splash already, and that was a great performance there to secure 3rd at the end by just half a second away from 2nd place.
Yeah, it was a close one. I was looking forward to close into Stennis, but it didn't work. I mean, starting from back of the grid, that's a hard one.
It worked well though. You climbed forward. You got driver of the day from the game. We can't disagree with that at all. Talk us through your early laps there, carving through the field as successfully as you did.
Well, with qualifying, I also expected it to rain, but because of previous occasions, I was doubting as well because it once at 70% rain and then it was dry all race. So I was thinking to go on dry setup as well, but thankfully I chose wet setup. And that made it really easy to overtake because I had more grip on the exit of the corners instead of everyone else. But yeah, I was lacking speed on the straight, so I had to think of alternative to overtake, and it worked quite well on my end. And I mean, because of it, I finished P3 for how it is.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, fantastic race long commitment and quality driving. Doesn't get much better than that. Scything through the field. JP, anything for our newbie here, MDJ?
Yeah, obviously, first congrats on your first podium in IRL, especially on the last one. Not an easy race to do it on. Obviously, the battle you had with Speed Queen, I mean, that was quite a lengthy battle, and it didn't look like it took too much out of your tyres, but just let us know your thoughts on that battle, because Speed Queen is not the easiest driver to overtake on any circuit, as we saw last week.
Yeah, I mean, it was very difficult to overtake her. I mean, she had enough grip on the axis of the corners, but she also had a lot of top speed, which made it very difficult. And just because she made some small mistakes, I made it stick. And at the end of the straight, I decided to make my car stick on the inside, and it worked on my end. And I hope she didn't go off track because of it. If so, then I have something to wait for me.
I think she was okay. I think she stayed on track. So congrats though. You've made a great impression here, and we hope to see you again next season if schedules allow. I'm going to move on though to Reshka. Reshka, thank you for being able to join us here in the press conference, and congratulations as joint constructors champion of season 15.
Thank you. I mean, I made Ghost work for it, that's for sure. I wasn't pulling my weight too hard, finishing last on track in all of the last 5 races, but no, it's been a good one. So.
Yeah. Well, Ghost has always been pretty quick to point out that that you're really good at helping with setups and in terms of and kind of co-driving for him in it sometimes through the races, and certainly keeping him motivated, keeping him informed about what's going on in the rest of the race. So he's been very keen to credit your effort. I know it hasn't been a huge amount of actual championship points, but talk us. Have you enjoyed the season, and where do you think you can hope for the next season?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a great season. I've had some great races. The first half of the season was much better. I had some great races. Imola was good, and I had a great first stint in Silverstone, I remember. But it's just been quite a lot of frustration along the way, little mistakes. You know, in Abu Dhabi in Brazil, I got took out through no fault of my own, so I ended up at the back, and that didn't help. So I think I have had pace, and then I think when we've had all the newbies come in the last couple of races, it's just kept shuffling me down and down as they've all been faster than me. So, no, I'm hopeful it'll get better. It's I've turned on racing line off on my assist this season, so it's been a bit of a learning curve to get into the groove of that. So hopefully next season I'll hit the ground running a bit more.
Well, chapeau for that. You'll know your way around the circuits by now, I'm sure, for next season. JP, anything for our new champion?
Yeah, obviously, a bit like Ghost, congratulations on constructors. It's certainly not an easy thing to do, especially in F1 when the racing is, well, one mistake, and as you know, Resco's Ghost knows, one mistake you're already near the back end of the points. But in terms of, obviously, you say like the last 5 races you've been almost the last finishing car, effectively. I mean, what is it that you do compared to others that make you just continue on, carry on, and just drive to the end? Is it that constructor at the end, or is it just the fact that at the end of the day it's more experience on the game, and for you, for next season, it's almost like data collection ready for next season as well?
Yeah, I think you should never give up in a race. I mean, I finished last on track today, and I still finished 8th. You know, like I think Ivan had damage or something on the first couple of laps, and then retired earlier. Or if he'd continued on, he probably would have beat me and gotten more points than me. So it's never too late. I've had a race before as well in Italy in conditions very much like this, where I made several mistakes at the back, almost getting lapped, and I ended up winning. It was thanks to a late safety car with good switch to slicks and whatnot. So it's never too late for things to turn around. So I think you've always just got to hang it in there. And I think Australia was the key one, where I was at the back, no hope of anything, but I was kind of using myself as a test bed of, okay, I'm going to switch to Inters now and see if it's ready, so I can let Ghost know what the conditions are like and stuff like that. So it's always useful staying out, I think.
Excellent. Well, that's exactly the kind of spirit we want to see. We don't like seeing drivers retire early, but I know when they've got to go, and it's right and proper. They do it in the right way. But Ghost, last words for you, I guess, as our champion. What does the off season look like for you? How big a yacht are you going to be sailing to private islands in the Med?
I'm going to keep it humble, I think, Weber. No, I think I'm just gonna enjoy the off season, enjoy having Mondays free. No, it's been fantastic fun, and I'm already really looking forward to next season. I've seen a couple of people from days gone by say they might make a comeback for next season already. So yeah, it could. I think it's going to be again a very fun and close-fought season next season. I know I said that this season, and look what's happened. But I genuinely think there are a lot of really fast drivers here now, really consistent
for sure.
drivers. Mm-hmm. Especially with Stinos coming in, MDJ as well, and Nipo unfortunately couldn't be here. Felix as well, with his connection issues, he wasn't in it, but he was very fast. So yeah, a lot of people can challenge for the top, and it's going to be fantastic next season, I think. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Congrats again. Hats off. That's going to take some beating, and I think you've laid down the gauntlet now for seasons still to come here at Invictus Racing League. Don't forget to tune in to F2 tomorrow. That will actually be with me for a 3-way title showdown at the same circuit, same time tomorrow. I'll be commentating over F2. Tune in on Wednesday to watch JP and his victory run, as we've heard, and of course for Thursday for realistic performance. Make sure you get plenty of Invictus Racing into your brain before the off season, but don't forget to hit that subscribe button. From me, Webbo, from JP, and from everybody here at Invictus Racing League's F1 division, we thank you for your loyalty all through the season, for your engagement, and all the likes and chat that we've had. It's been a really good one, and here's to an even better season 16. But from us for now, we'll catch you on the next race day.